seconds. All right, so we are now about to entertain the first Shabbos in my life, at least, and I'm going to guess in all of your lives, that going to shul wasn't an option. Not because we were stuck in a place where the shul was too far, but because it is prohibited to go to shul, it's prohibited to congregate, and to the best of my knowledge, all the shuls in the country will be closed on Shabbat. I would say the majority of shuls in the West are closed, and now becomes the question of let's deal with it on two levels: one purely halachic, and the other on more let's say spiritual level. On halachic level, how does one operate in a non-shul environment? So we don't have shul services. So what can we say? What can't we say? What do we do? What don't we do? So let's start with Friday night services. So other than Kaddish and Baruch Hu, there's nothing that would change in the Friday night service. Sorry, a few things. Kaddish, so we need a meaning for Kaddish, Baruch Hu, and then the Magen Avot. So when you finish your Amidah on a Friday night, and we say Vayechulu and Magen Avot, so that part is all part of a pseudo repetition of the Amidah, which wouldn't be done on a Friday night. So those parts you exclude, but the rest of the service you would do. So from the Charudi and a lot of shuls around Sydney, it'll be interesting to see if there's some feedback here. A number of shuls around Sydney are planning to do a Zoom Friday night service with music and singing. I won't lie, it gives me halves thinking of doing something like that. But if my community is open and willing to do it, I am open to try it. But it definitely does not sit well with me. But you Dovern from Yid Nefesh all the way until Aleinu. You don't need to do Yigdal. Yigdal is not part of the, not really part of the service, and Kiddush should make it dinner. But that would be the Friday night service. Shabbat morning, everything except the repetition of the Amidah and Torah reading, and the repetition of Musaf. So it would be exactly the same. Now this week is a little bit more challenging because it is Shabbos Mevarchim. The blessing of the new month, and that is a blessing which we can't say because in order to have the blessing of the new month, it's part of something that we say in a minyan. So there wouldn't be a blessing of the new month. So it'd be regular Psuka de Zimra, that is everything up until Yishtabach, regular davening all the way through, except with the repetition of Amidah. You'd skip over the Torah reading, then you'd do Ashrei and the Musaf and everything that comes after Musaf. There'd be no Nims Mirot. There would be, you'll see in the Siddur it actually says that like your kumpukans, some you do say, some you don't say, but that's how the service would take place. Now, if you're not going to read from the Torah, the question is there any value in just taking a Chumash and reading from the Chumash? So this is going to be an international question of is Kriyat Torah an obligation of the individual, an obligation of the community, or both? Meaning as follows. So let's just say shul's closed. Let's just say it's just closed this week, and next week we're back at shul. So do we have to read this week's parasha? Do we now have to go and read it again, or do we say, listen, it's come and it's gone, and it's gone. Now we just carry on with parasha b'midbar? So that is a question. But even if that is a question, one way or another, reading the parasha from a chumash is not going to alleviate that. So if you read it from the chumash, you're not fulfilling any mitzvah of reading from the Torah. Haftorah, you probably are, because Haftorah, is a custom, and definitely to read the Haftorah if you can read the Haftorah. And I definitely, far be it from me to say not to read the Chumash. But if you are one of those individuals who who's going to read it, I think definitely far more value in learning the parasha, printing up a few articles from the parasha, or reading the Chumash with the commentaries. That is far more beneficial than just rambling through the words and not understanding what you're saying. Same with Haftorah. I think the idea that these are opportunities to learn a bit more of the service. So instead of, you're not going to have a 2.5 hour shul service on Shabbos morning. So I think the best way to do it is to print up stuff before Shabbos, or if you've got books, and to use the opportunity to learn. So you're all going to be saved from our Shabbos morning drosha this week, which you're all very upset about. But it's an opportunity to read and learn about the parasha, and to make this time to really take the opportunity to be able to learn a bit more, especially about the Shabbat. Parasha, I won't lie. As far as parasha Shavuos go, parasha Vayakal Pekuda is probably one of the hardest to give a drosha on. So I can't say I'm terribly sad that I'm not giving a drosha this Shabbos. As far as mincha goes, mincha will be the same as shachrit and mariv, that you do everything except Torah reading and the repetition of the Amidah. Now let's talk about from a spiritual point of view. For many people, Shabbat, shul is their connection to Judaism. Their Friday night services, at home, other than Kiddush, there's nothing really of any Shabbos. It just becomes a meal with some ritual food around it, and so any spiritual components about it is they actually coming to shul and connecting. So I really think we're living in monumental times where we're going to have to do a real serious form of self-searching to try to figure out exactly what shul means to us. I mean, halavai, shul meant so much to us that the community was crying this week that they can't come to shul. I mean, we've got close to 350, 400 families, members of the shul. Fair to say that the vast majority of them don't come on a weekly basis. And for a vast majority of them, the Shabbos is exactly the same as every other Shabbos. I hope that even them will feel that there's something missing, that there's something different about being in a community where there is a shul, as opposed to being in a community where there isn't a shul. So I think we got to dig deep. We got to try and make meaning out of Shabbos. This is not the first time that shuls have been closed, and we have to find a way of making our Shabbos meaningful without the external crutches of shul, of droshes, of shirim, of chazans and the like. We've got to dig deep, and so it means digging deep means working hard. And working hard means finding stuff to read and reading it. We often look elsewhere for inspiration, but it's not the role of others to inspire us. It's our role to find inspiration ourselves. And maybe we'll find it in what the words that people say and the things that people do and write and the like. But ultimately, the onus has to be on us to find ways of inspiring ourselves, especially at times where we feel very uninspired. So it's difficult, but we can't mope. We need to find ways of lifting ourselves out. And as it says, which is one of the verses of Lachadodi, it's hitna'ari, now shake off the dust and get up. And I think that's very much what we've got to do. We got to look to Shabbat and say Shabbat is bigger than shul. It's much bigger, and Shabbat exists wherever we are, and we can have a spiritual day of connection. And I think that even for those who are not Shomrei Shabbat, the way of just being able to switch off one more thing this Shabbat, go for one less drive, one use the phone a little bit less, just make it different. It's already different, but make it a little bit more holy. And I think that's something we can all do, and hopefully come through it. That I'm hoping that when the shul reopens, people look at it differently and appreciate the concept of community differently. And let's hope that they do. All right, so those are my ramblings and rants for this evening. It's getting longer each night, I'm noticing. First night was only 10, 20 minutes. Last night was, I think, half an hour, and we had 40 odd minutes. But as long as you're prepared to listen, I'm prepared to rant. So hope you have a wonderful, there will be a drosha tomorrow at about 6 o'clock. I will prepare a drosha and we will try and do something. But yeah, but we will take it on there, and I just wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. Hope to see you tomorrow. Stay safe, and loving you from 16 Elvona. Cheers.
Shabbat Shalom.